Back to our top stories about the floods in Queensland, and homes are being evacuated in parts of the northern Gold Coast and Logan City due to flooding from ex-tropical cyclone Debbie. For more, we're joined live from the Emergency Management Queensland by reporter Candice Prosser. Take us through some of the major areas of concern now, Candice.
Well, it's still unfolding as we speak, and those areas around the south of Brisbane, as you mentioned, northern parts of the Gold Coast, Beenleigh, Logan, those are all the areas that are being impacted by this latest weather surge here, down with the rain that's coming through the river systems. The Logan and Albert rivers have been causing concern for authorities, and people in low-lying areas around those rivers were told earlier today to get out, to move to higher ground and to go to evacuation centres if they didn't have any family or friends to go to. So at this stage, as you mentioned, there's still so much water making its way through that system. Overnight and in the past 24 hours, we've had so much rain in the southeast of Queensland. The remnants of ex-tropical cyclone Debbie brought hundreds of millimetres of rain in a very short period of time. That caused flash flooding, it cut off roads, it caused havoc across the state, the southeast of the state. Schools closed, businesses were forced to shut, and people were caught out in floodwaters, in torrential rain with very strong destructive winds that were coming through over 100 kilometres an hour. So at the moment, the threat hasn't completely subsided. It's still very much an evolving threat, and the authorities are warning people to still be vigilant and to heed their warnings about not going near dangerous situations, near floodwaters, because they simply don't know what's underneath. And they have expressed concern that some people have been treating it as a bit of a joke and taking photos for social media, doing water sports in floodwaters, and they're saying people just really shouldn't do those things. They've described it as stupid and silly, and say that the emergency services, which are already so stretched, are now having to respond to rescue people. We've heard that today people were rescued playing in floodwaters, and that's simply a diversion of very critical resources that are stretched across the state. So very much a message that people need to be serious about their safety.
Obviously, they should be. Some, of course, as you mentioned, are not heeding those warnings. Take us through some of the most common sort of emergencies being attended to. You mentioned rescues in floodwaters. What actually happens to people in the floodwaters?
Well, we've been hearing that there's been quite a few call-outs for flood-related rescues, so people who have either gone out and tried to play in these floodwaters, or people who have got caught out trying to cross them in cars and then become stuck. So as a result, emergency services are having to go to and respond to these jobs and get the people out. They've had to go out on dinghies to rescue these people. We've heard just now that there's been a couple of people and their dogs rescued in the region south of Brisbane. So there's still rescues happening, and people are still finding themselves stuck in these floodwaters despite so many messages from the authorities to just stay away, and people haven't been doing that. And we've heard that as well in New South Wales, the authorities there saying the same thing, that people aren't really taking it seriously. But of course, what a huge week it's been in Queensland with Cyclone Debbie and all the destruction that it's brought. And then now that it's come down to the southeast and there's been torrential rain, today the weather's actually quite good. It's dried up, but the fact that all that water is still moving through the river system is still posing a threat. And because the weather is now clearing, perhaps people aren't seeing that threat for themselves, but it's still very much there, and authorities are saying that it's very disappointing that some people aren't heeding that warning. And of course, children are also home from school today because schools have remained shut in those parts that are affected today. And authorities say children should not be playing in floodwaters, and parents and caregivers should be responsible and make sure that they just completely stay away.
Candice Prosser, thank you.